Hello guys, let's start. Well, first of all, I want to remind you from the previous video what are homologous chromosomes. They are a pair of chromosomes in a diploid cell. We will see what a diploid cell is in just a second. That have the same structure as each other with the same genes. That means at the same loci, the same genes at the same loci. That means they have genes that control the same properties, but not necessarily in the same way. I gave you the example of the eye color last time. These are called allele. They have the same genes, so not necessarily the same alleles, at the same loci, and that pair together to form a bivalent during the first division of meiosis. We'll see in just a second what that is. I mentioned, though, that there are diploid cells. Well, not all cells have two chromosomes pairs. Two chromosomes in its pair. That means many cells do not have their chromosomes in a pair, and that is on the organism. So, in humans, the chromosomes make pairs because they are homologous, and they have the genetic material twice. They have two sets of chromosomes. Those cells are called diploid. It's a cell that contains two sets of chromosomes, and it is symbolized by, it is represented by 2n, where n the number of chromosomes in one set. Haploid is a cell that contains only one set of chromosomes, which is half of the diploid, therefore n. Okay. In humans, therefore, normal body cells are diploid, 2n, with 46 chromosomes, and gametes are haploid, n with 23 chromosomes. Okay, now, meiosis is a nuclear division needed for sexual reproduction. So, for the life cycle to contain sexual reproduction, there must be a point before fertilization takes place where the number of chromosomes is halved. Okay. This results in the gametes containing only one set of chromosomes rather than two sets. If there were no point in the life cycle where the number of chromosomes halved, then the number of chromosomes would double every generation. You see, let me show you this. Let's make it that color. So if I got 2n and the chromosomes would not halve, and let's say I had mitosis, then each cell would have how many chromosomes? 2n. These are gametes, right? So let's say gametes are 2n. And I got a gamete from another person here coming with 2n. When these two combine to form the zygote, the first cell of a human body, it will have 4n. That means double the chromosome number. And this is way too much, and we don't need that. So we need a division. Unlike mitosis, which the chromosome number stays the same, maybe the number of DNA molecules isn't the same, because here the 2n means each chromosome has two DNA molecules, while here the 2n, each chromosome has one DNA molecule. But these here are identical, so we shouldn't even talk about that. We need a type of division that halves the chromosome number. So instead of 2, so the first cell would be 2n, and after some division, to take cells with n. And if this combines with another n, then the zygote, the first cell of any human being, would be 2n, which is the correct number of chromosomes. And this division is called meiosis. And it is sometimes described as a reduction division, because the number of chromosomes is reduced. Actually, this is what this means. Meiosis comes from the word meiosis. It's that, which means reduction. So, on its definition, on its same name, it says it's a reduction division. Okay, let's move on now. You see, meiosis does more than halve the number of chromosomes in a cell. It introduces genetic variation into the gametes and therefore the zygotes that are produced. Genetic variation may also arise as a result of mutation, which can occur at any stage of life in a life cycle. Okay. About this and this we'll talk in later. First of all, let's see the stages of meiosis. These are the stages, and I will come back to this later because I need to show you some things here. But let's start with an introduction. First of all, unlike mitosis, meiosis involves two divisions called meiosis 1 and 2. Meiosis 1 is a reduction division resulting in two daughter nuclei with half the chromosome, the number of chromosomes of the parent nucleus. In meiosis 2, the chromosomes behave as in mitosis, so that each of the two haploid daughter nuclei divides again. Meiosis therefore results in a total of 4 haploid nuclei. Note that it is the behavior of the chromosomes in meiosis 1 that is particularly important and contrasts with mitosis. Meiosis 2 is just like mitosis. Okay. First, let's start with prophase 1. What happens? Like in mitosis. Okay, so what happens at the beginning? In mitosis, we've got what do we have? We got just give me a second. I'm sorry. We got the chromosomes, the centrosomes to replicate, the centromere with attached kinetochores. We've got intact nuclear envelope, nucleolus, cytoplasm, cell surface membrane, and the chromosomes start to appear as the chromatin calls up. Now that prophase starts, what happens? The nuclear envelope breaks up, the nucleolus disappears, the centrosomes moving to opposite end of a nucleus as in mitosis, and the chromosomes, they do something else. The homologous chromosomes, that means two chromosomes, come together next to each other, like that. And this is called a synapsis. And the fact that they pair up. These two together are called ebivalent. Okay? And at this point, something very, very magical happens. It is called crossover or crossing over. The bivalent shows crossing over. What happens? Exactly what happens? Chromatids, some part of the chromatid, may break and may reconnect to another chromatid. Here, you can see here a chiasma, which is the point where crossing over occurs. And it happens between the chromatids of homologous chromosomes. This fact, in fact, crossing over. Now, it's gamete. We'll take one of these. Usually, we would say that if it takes that, it will have all the genes of that. But if it takes that, it will have all the genes of that. So we could predict, if we know which of two together it's two, what genes it will have. But because of crossing over, we've got more variation in the production of gametes, because we've got even more random things to happen. So this is why we said that meiosis is in fact genetic variation, crossing over. And another fact that is because is independent assortment of the homologous chromosomes, and that is what? You see here, each chromosome will go into each chromosome from one chromosome. Okay, let me rephrase now, I apologize. One chromosome from each homologous pair will go to one daughter nuclei. But we don't know. Some daughter nuclei may get some chromosomes and some other. They're dependent assortment. That means we don't know if that or that will go to the daughter nuclei along with that or that. And imagine now that we have 46 homologous chromosomes and 23 pairs. That is much random what will happen, dependent assortment. So these two are why meiosis is responsible for genetic variation. Okay, let's move on now. Oh, another thing is that anywhere along the length we may get one or more chiasmata. Now we've got a spindle which is formed, okay, and now what happens? Bivalents line up across the equator. Okay, you see these are the bivalent. The spindle is formed, and during anaphase, the centromeres do not divide, and they pull not one chromatid like in meiosis, but a whole chromosome. And at the end, at telophase, we've got a nuclear envelope to reform, a nucleolus to reform, cytokinesis takes place, and chromosomes have reached poles of the spindle. Now, leaving that point, I want to come back here and show you that what? Meiosis 1, no, let me show you here, maybe here I got it. Yes, meiosis 1, you see what happens? We have separation of the homologous pairs. And then we will have separation of the sister chromatids, which is what happens in mitosis. This part is the same in mitosis. But I want you to know that meiosis 1, what happens here is what? Separation of the chromosome pairs. So if I were to make, let me do that here. No. Let me actually do it here. To show you meiosis, and I would like to show you only one pair of chromosomes what happens. Okay. Give me red. Let's say we've got this pair, this. And I wanted to show you what meiosis is. Very, very schematically. I would have this. During meiosis 1, one pair of homologous chromosomes. During meiosis 1, you see what happens? We've got separation of the chromosomes. And during meiosis 2, we've got separation of the sister chromatids. If I was talking about only one pair of chromosomes. If I were about 46, it would be much, much more complex. So if here I get 2 chromosomes, here how many chromosomes I got? 1. And here how many chromatids? I got 1. So from 2n actually, during meiosis 1, I went to n, so this is the reduction division, and then again to n. But here I'm talking about n chromosomes, and here n chromatids. But we've got the same number. Okay. Let's move on during meiosis 2. It's just like mitosis. So we've got prophase 2 with nuclear envelope and nucleolus dispersed, and some centrioles replicate and move to the opposite poles of the cell. Then the chromosomes line up separately across the equator of the spindle. Then the centromeres divide and spindle microtubules pull the chromatids now to opposite poles, not whole chromosomes, just one chromatid for each chromosome. Like in mitosis, I didn't put pictures here because I got them in mitosis. Go and watch them there. And telophase 2. Okay, this is like the telophase, but in meiosis 4 haploid cells are formed. Here is this to show you what's happening. I want you to know that meiosis 2 happens in 2 cells. Meiosis 1 happens in 1 cell, but meiosis 2 happens in 2 cells at the same time, you see? So I get 4 resulting cells. Now let's see how gametogenesis happens in humans. Now, First of all, where it happens. It's not the same in male and female. Okay. In the male, it's called spermatogenesis, and it happens inside tubules in the testes. While females, it's called oogenesis, and happens inside the ovaries. But now let's see what's going on. No, this is for you to study. I will talk about this picture right here. So, sperm production takes place inside tubules in the testes. You can see here that they are called seminiferous tubules. Okay, and let's see what's going on here. Here, diploid cells divide by mitosis. So we've got a diploid cell that is dividing by mitosis, mitotic division, to give me what? Spermatogonia, which grow to form what? Primary spermatocytes. The first division of meiosis then takes place, forming two haploid secondary spermatocytes. Here. The second division of meiosis then produces haploid spermatids, which mature into spermatozoa. Sperm. Great, great. Now, oogenesis, what happens here? Let's see. Oogenesis follows a similar pattern, but many fewer gametes are made than during spermatogenesis, and the process takes much longer, with long waiting stages. It takes place inside the ovaries, where diploid cells divide by mitosis to produce many oogonia. So, with mitosis, we've got many oogonia. These begin to divide by meiosis, but stop when they reach prophase 1. At this stage, they are called primary oocytes. It's meiosis. If you call it meiosis, yes, it's meiosis, but they stop when they reach prophase 1. Okay, I believe this is wrong here. When all of this happens before a baby girl is born, and at birth she has around 400,000 primary oocytes in her ovaries. When she reaches puberty, some of the primary oocytes get a little further. Okay? With their division by meiosis. These proceed from prophase 1 to the end of the first meiotic division, forming two haploid cells. However, the division is uneven. One cell gets more of the cytoplasm, which is called and becomes a secondary oocyte, while the other is little more than a nucleus and is called a polar body. The polar body can be thought of as simply a way of getting rid of half of the chromosomes and has no further role to play in reproduction. Okay, now I want to talk to you about period, because girls get their period. What is that? Each month, one secondary oocyte is released. Yes, I don't have a slide for that, because I don't think you know it, but in case you want to learn it, just take some notes. So each month, one secondary oocyte is released into the oviduct from one of the ovaries. If it is fertilized, it continues its division by meiosis and can now be called an ovum. The chromosomes of the spermatozoon and the ovum join together to form a single diploid nucleus, and the cell that is made by this progress is called a zygote. The zygote can now divide repeatedly by mitosis to form first an embryo and then a fetus. Okay, so each month one secondary oocyte is released into the oviduct from one of the ovaries. If it is fertilized, what happened? I tell you. If it is not, you have your period. Okay, that is all for today's video. What I wanted to say to you at last is that two things actually. First of all, you can see around here on the YouTube page there is a subtitles button. If you click that, these are generated by YouTube. I have tried to correct them, but I can't find an option about that. So they're not always correct, but I believe they help you because my accent is not so good and YouTube understands me most of the times. So if you listen with the subtitles and the slides, I believe it's going to be more helpful. And second, I would like to ask you to be kind. And I'm doing these videos because I'm going to pass IMAT, as well as many of you, this year. And I understand that many of you are panicking because you saw that 6,000 something number. And there are only 500 positions, right? And you're like, no, I'm not going to help anyone. And I'm going to be very rude to everyone. I'm going to give them false information because I don't want them to succeed. Well, I don't think this is the way of going right now, because if you do that, others won't give you help. And I'm doing that. I'm doing these videos with no gain, just to help you and the future generations that will take the IMAT, because there is a lot of studying to be done and we don't have all the information gathered up somehow. This is why I make these videos. So if you like to be mean and not help anyone, just want to take everything you can from others so you can write better than them, then I don't think I will keep up these videos. I'm now in a dilemma, you could say, and I'm considering whether I should continue these videos or stop for now and continue to make them, but upload them after September 14th, because I don't like the climate. Thank you. Bye.